Hello neighbor, I'm Robert Burns and welcome once again to another edition of Sound Off Louisiana. And everyone may recall sometime back that we broke the news that Jared Riecke was no longer on the Louisiana State Police Commission. And even though he remained up on the State Police's website for a considerable period of time, and some people started to doubt maybe we had this wrong. I even told Jason Hanneman, who was clueless to any of this, interestingly enough, I said, I stand by my sources. These are extremely reliable sources. And you will remember the little video skits we put up about the We the People, concerned citizens of St. Tammany Parish, and the thrill that they should take in this. But nevertheless, there was some hint of doubt amongst some folk because he remained up on the Louisiana State Police Commission's website. Let me just point out that, as you will recall, Senator Fields, then Senator Fields, now Congressman Fields, is responsible for the fact that these folks have to be confirmed by the Senate. And as I had predicted, that would have been very, very, very difficult for Mr. Riecke. That's made even more difficult by what I believe to have transpired here, and I told some folk this is the way it's going to go down. Governor Landry is just going to decline to submit the paperwork, and Riecke's term will expire by operation of law on June the 12th of this, which is 7 days from the day I'm filming this, because if you're not confirmed by the close of the legislative session, that's when your term expires. One gentleman even referred to that as a pocket veto. Now I am told that Mr. Riecke was none too pleased about all of this, and in fact I understand that there was a very terse exchange between he and the governor, in which Mr. Riecke allegedly used some words that I don't believe are appropriate to use to any sitting governor. I have a lot of issues with Jeff Landry, I'll tell you that right now, but I'm not going to disrespect the office. If I were ever to interview him about things, I will be very respectful of him. But I can tell you that I have some real issues with him, and that's going to become more apparent in some future features we're going to do. But just in case anyone has any doubt left, I have steadily gone and checked, because I knew the legislative session is nearing an end, and so I even called the Senate last week and I asked, do you have any kind of confirmation paperwork on Jared Riecke? They told me they did not. However, they told me they also didn't have it on the 3 other commissioners who would need to be confirmed by the Senate. But I have dutifully checked day in and day out on the State Police Commission's website, and let me get up close. Hopefully I'm doing this right, and you ought to be able to see. We're going to put the screenshot of it on our post, but if I have it done right, you should see 1st Congressional District, and it says vacant. That makes it official, folks. Jared Riecke is no longer on the State Police Commission representing the 1st District, 1st Congressional District of Louisiana. He never should have been appointed by John Bell Edwards in the first place. He shouldn't have been reconfirmed after he served the interim part of that term. He most certainly, Jeff Landry has no excuse for having appointed him, and it's blown up in his face, all right? It's blown up in his face, and it's very frustrating for me because I sent some folk material, and I know others did too, warning Jeff Landry this is a huge mistake, but he did it anyway. Not only did he do it, just look at what they had to do to pull this off. The whole Stephen L. Guidry situation, literally the day after nominations closed, and he was the only one nominated for the 1st District, Stephen L. Guidry suddenly changes his voter registration to East Baton Rouge Parish, which brings me to my next item that I would like to convey to everyone, and that is that I now have the resignation letters for Stephen L. Guidry, both from the Motor Vehicle Commission and also from the Highway Safety Commission. You may remember that Dillard University's president, Monique Guidry, touted the fact that Governor Landry had just named him as chairman of that commission. Okay, and I pointed out that, hey, you can't have it both ways. You can't use St. Tammany voter registration for those purposes and yet use East Baton Rouge Parish for purposes of the State Police Commission. Mr. Guidry managed to basically get himself locked in to East Baton Rouge, because if you change it back now, then, as I've said before, it's very obvious what was going on here. I think it's still very obvious what's going on, but let me just say this. Those letters are both dated January the 28th of 2025. Both of them. They are substantially similar. We're going to give you links to both of those resignation letters. All I can tell you is when I did the feature exposing all of this, I had screenshot the situation of him representing the 1st District on the Motor Vehicle Commission, and that was March the 5th or 6th, whichever the case. So if it took from January the 28th to March the 5th to get him removed from those websites, then something's wrong in Denmark, as my dad used to say. I will leave it up to you if you want to believe an alternate scenario, and that is that those letters were backdated. I certainly don't have the proof of that, and you are welcome to make any assumption you may make in that regard. But all I can tell you is he was still up there when I screenshot that and put all of this forward. The other thing that just smells to high heaven is that little email from Ryan Roberts, Governor Landry's head of boards and commissions. In fact, we'll replicate it again, give the link for it. That little email from Ryan Roberts, the Governor Landry's head of boards and commissions, to Jason Hanneman that says, by the way, this is his mailing address that we're going to use. It's on his confirmation letter, but here's the address we're going to use for voter registration purposes. It's a pretty damning email in my opinion. Okay, but I think that is indicative of the type of governor that we have. His trust factor at this point is 0 or below. Okay, 0 or below. There is no trust in this governor. That's the bottom line. And for that reason, I think he's going to have grave difficulty through the rest of his term, and I think re-election, in my opinion, is going to be almost impossible. I learned a long time ago, you don't ever say anything's impossible, especially in Louisiana. But that brings me to the third announcement on this sound off feature, and that is that the same sources who were so reliable to tell us that Jared Riecke was no longer on the State Police Commission have also informed us, and we've been able to cooperate through several sources, that, or at least they are alleging this, that Governor Landry's son, JT, is employed by Gordon McKernan, the most prominent, arguably the most prominent trial lawyer in this entire state. And I think everyone would know that this whole session was dominated by trial lawyer / insurance reform, and for the most part, Governor Landry has won those battles, much to the chagrin of Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple. We'll probably do a little more in-depth coverage of that, because there is still one bill pending, that's Senate Bill 231, I believe that's the right number, by Senator Riecke, that will be heard on Sunday. It's basically collateral source, and I'm not going to get down in the weeds, because I've covered collateral source before years ago. That may at least offset one of Landry's big victories, at least partially offset. The insurance industry says nothing will offset this, and that is Landry insisting on giving Tim Temple the power to reject rates, and then Landry's made it clear he's going to blame Tim Temple if insurance rates don't come down. Allstate and State Farm had a meeting with Governor Landry, and they said this is horrible legislation. I think it's absolutely atrocious legislation, but Jeff Landry went so far as to say if he had to, he would convene another special session for this purpose and this purpose alone if they didn't, if the legislature didn't get this in front of his desk. He's now signed it into law, so it is the law of the land. I think we have the ultimate dictator here. Huey Long couldn't hold a candle to this guy. I think a number of people are fed up with it. I know I'm beyond fed up with it, but we're stuck with him for another 2.5 years. But that's going to wrap up this Sound Off feature. So the takeaways are Jared Riecke's no longer on the Louisiana State Police Commission. Stephen L. Guidry has, by necessity, had to resign from both the Louisiana Motor Vehicle Commission and the Louisiana Highway Safety Commission. We'll give you both resignation letters. You can infer what you want about the dates of them and the circumstances upon which those resignation letters came about. And then thirdly, this business of Governor Landry's son apparently being employed by none other than Gordon McKernan, arguably the most prominent trial attorney in this state. Don't forget about the fact that Eric Gayrard, we learned before that that's Jeff Landry's cousin, another very prominent trial lawyer. He lost his license for a substantial period of time about this business of offering the E-guarantee. And Gordon McKernan and Eric Gayrard have certainly had their battles. It's even some federal litigation about who gets to stand up on top of an 18-wheeler and so forth and so on. But at any rate, I think it's a sad state of affairs what has happened in this legislative session. I have told close associates this is the worst legislative session, I believe, in the last 20 years. We'll provide some more added detail as to why I feel that way, because there's some other bills that we're going to talk about once this session is over. But it has been bad. I mean bad from my vantage point. So that's it, folks. We look forward to bringing you another Sound Off Louisiana feature in the very near future. Thank you so much for your dedication, and enjoy this hot weather. It's not my favorite time of year, but I've lived here all my life, so I'll learn to deal with it. Thank you again so much.